If you ask most people what's the best kart racing game for Nintendo 64, they're probably going to say it's Mario Kart 64. It's often regarded as the king of kart racers. But for every champion, there's a rival, and if you ask me, Diddy Kong Racing is my favorite of the two. Both games are fantastic kart racers, but Diddy Kong Racing appeals to me more because it's not just about the kart racing, but it's also a collectathon with items to collect, secrets to discover, and an adventure mode that makes it a more enjoyable way to play as a solo player, and that makes it a much more memorable game for me. But despite loving this game as a kid, I could never beat Wizpig. I remember trying hundreds of times, staying up way past my bedtime trying to beat this game. In fact, I had a friend named Matt who I remember playing with, and he swore that he did it, but when he tried to show me how to do it, he couldn't do it all of a sudden. I bet he was using one of those 1000 cheat code books that you can get at the school book fair. So in today's video, I'm going to be revisiting this game so I can finally beat it 28 years later. But I'm not just going to beat the game, I'll be getting every single achievement in this game using Retro Achievements, a platform that adds achievement support to all of your favorite classic games through the power of emulators and modern technology. There are a total of 94 achievements, and to get them all, we not only have to beat the game, but we'll need to find every collectible and secret, as well as get good enough to beat the developers' time trials for every single track. And this game has a reputation for being pretty difficult, so it's gonna be a bumpy ride. If you're new to the channel, my name's Nostalgic Juice. I'm on a quest to revisit all the classic nostalgic games from my childhood and collect their achievements. So if you like nostalgic retro games and achievement hunting videos just like this, then make sure you subscribe because I'm uploading one every single week. With that said, let's start our engines and get ready to play some Diddy Kong Racing. We kick things off in the character select screen, and you might be wondering who the heck are like half these guys. Obviously you know Diddy Kong, Banjo, and Conker, but who the heck are the rest of these guys? I'm pretty sure this is the mouse from the Mousetrap board game. Timber looks like the cereal mascot for a store brand Frosted Flakes. Well, the reason why these random characters are here is because this game was actually not originally going to be Diddy Kong Racing. Rare was originally developing a game called Wild Cartoon Kingdom, which was going to be a racing game in a Disneyland-inspired theme park, but somewhere down the line they decided they want a more marketable and well-known character since this game is going to be released right around Christmas time, and so Timber got demoted to a side character and Diddy Kong took the spotlight. But just because they're new doesn't make them any less charming or memorable. I even stumbled across this old Q&A article on Rare's old website where a very excited fan of Tip Top actually convinced them to put a cameo in Banjo-Kazooie. Speaking of Banjo, what the heck is this voice?
I'm Banjo!
That is not Banjo. That's one of those crappy Las Vegas mascots who offer to take a picture with you and then get mad at you for not paying them money. Once we pick a character, we're immediately thrown into the game. But this game's story is actually hidden inside its manual. Timber's parents are on vacation with the Kong family, so Timber invited Diddy Kong and friends to come hang out on the island and race on all the courses. But the party is soon crashed by Wizpig, an intergalactic pig wizard who wants to take over the island. So we have to visit each of the 4 worlds, defeat the bosses in each of them so we can take on Wizpig and defeat him. I don't know how beating him in a race solves anything if he can just use space magic, but that's the story nonetheless. To help us on our journey, we meet Taj, the genie who rides in on his magic carpet. Taj roams around the hub world, which we can now explore to get a feel for things. The controls in this game are deceptively simple. We can drift like in Mario Kart, but there's no kind of a boost mechanic. At first glance, it seems pretty simple, but don't worry, this game has a lot going on under the hood of those cute little cars that we'll get into soon. And it's not just the cars either, there are 3 vehicle types in this game. If we talk to Taj, we can switch between them. We can fly around in the air on an airplane or cruise along the water in a hovercraft. I decided to take the plane to fly around the hub world, and we get our first achievement for finding our first collectible. Balloons are the main collectible to look out for. There are a few hidden in the hub world, but most of them will be given to us by winning races. There are 47 of them in total in the game, and we'll have to find them all for another achievement. After getting my bearings, I headed to the first world, Dino Domain. Each world has 4 racetracks that we unlock by having enough balloons. So that means there's not really a specific order that you have to go in as long as you have enough balloons, which is something I really like. So I jump into some races, and this is a good time to explain the basics of Diddy Kong Racing. At its core, it's a very typical kart racer. You have items in the form of balloons, but unlike Mario Kart where you get a randomized item, items in this game are always going to be consistent with the color of their balloons. Blue balloons give you a speed up, red balloons give you a missile to fire at other players, green balloons give you an oil slick that you can place on the track to sabotage your fellow racers, yellow balloons give you a shield to block attacks and map hazards, and rainbow balloons give you a magnet which lets you slingshot off other players. These balloons are all in fixed positions too, which means you're always going to find the same power-up in the same location every time, which adds some strategy to the game. If you're in the lead but it's close, you might want to opt for a shield power-up to protect yourself, or you might want to adjust your route so you're hitting every speed boost power-up. And on top of that, each power-up can actually be upgraded up to 2 more times if you collect multiple balloons of the same color. So that becomes another layer of strategy. Do you use a small boost as soon as you get it, or do you hold out until you get a big boost at the expense of having to pass up more items? Then there's the bananas, which are like coins. Each banana gives you a speed and acceleration boost up to 10 bananas. Attacking opponents causes them to lose bananas, as does taking damage ourselves. And finally, there are these dash pads called zippers, which give you a boost in speed for driving over them. Each track is 3 laps long, and the goal is to come in at first place, and if we do, we get a balloon as a prize. During our first races, we get several easy achievements as well to kick off our challenge. First, we get an achievement for collecting 10 bananas, then we get 5 more achievements, one for leveling up each power-up to level 3 during a race. We got another achievement for collecting 5 balloons as Diddy Kong, and each character has a similar achievement, so I'll be switching characters often throughout this run to get those. And finally, I got one more achievement for finding the hidden key in Boulder Canyon. Keys are another collectible to look out for. There's one in each world in one of the 4 tracks, and they open a door that leads to that world's battle minigame. For Dino Domain, this minigame has us competing to be the first to hatch 3 dinosaur eggs. We can either get dinosaur eggs from the center, or if we're quick enough we can swipe them from other players before they hatch. Learning how to take tight turns with the plane is a must in this game unless you want to bonk into every single wall. So by holding the R button we can make tighter turns, and if you want to go even tighter you can tap the brake while doing this, but it'll cost you some speed. Our prize for winning this minigame is a piece of the TT amulet. Collecting all the pieces is required to 100% this game, so I'll be making sure to collect them all. Once we win all 4 races, we get to take on the world's boss on a specialized track just for them. And this guy is fast. We have to race him up this spiral mountain, and I think we're intended to use the drifting to make these turns. You actually do go uphill faster while drifting, so it's definitely a good place to practice this. But I was still kind of struggling with the handling in this game, so I was making it a bit harder on myself by not drifting. This was honestly the first big difficulty bump of the game. This was way harder than the first few races. It seemed like I was bumping into every tree, wall, and obstacle. Modern kart racers like Mario Kart 8 feel much more responsive, while these old school kart racing games feel a little bit weird to handle. Turning almost feels like you're turning on like a circular radius with the back of your car swinging out behind you, which makes grabbing items and avoiding obstacles difficult. Eventually, with enough practice, I managed to defeat him, but if every boss is gonna be this difficult, we got a long road ahead of us. Once we defeat a world's boss, we now have access to the Silver Coin Challenge. We have to win another race on each of the 4 tracks once again. This time, however, there are 8 silver coins we not only have to collect in a single race, but we have to win that race as well, which makes things a lot harder this time around. But this is honestly such a great way to add challenges to the game. I feel like when I play kart racing games by myself, they can get a bit boring because eventually you get too good and the computers no longer provide any kind of challenge. Most racing games combat this by what's known as rubber banding, which is a mechanic that lets computers actually go faster than what should be possible when they're behind. That way the races are a bit closer. But that's a very artificial way to challenge the player, and oftentimes it can feel unfair. Diddy Kong Racing actually has no rubber banding mechanics despite what some people might think. That's right, all those races that you lost and blamed it on the rubber banding were actually your own skill issues. Providing a challenge in other ways like the silver coin races is something that I really respect about this game. Not that I mind rubber banding in other games all that much, but it is nice to see that Rare went the extra mile to do something different here. Though on second thought, I kind of wish they didn't because man, I was struggling here. I was able to fumble my way through the first boss fight, but getting all these coins and still winning was proving to be really difficult since I haven't really mastered the controls yet. It took me a whole hour of attempts to finally beat beat all 4 levels. So you might be wondering, what's our prize for beating the silver coin challenges? Well, besides an achievement for getting 5 balloons as Banjo. Well, it's the honor of fighting this world's boss yet again, but this time he's even harder. I even discovered this shortcut this time around, but even with the level 3 boost, it still wasn't helping much, especially since I was getting stuck on the plants half the time. This second run took a lot of trial and error. I had to memorize and plan out how to use each balloon power-up, the location of each tree so I would stop bonking into them, and I'm writing this script after beating the game, so I know you veteran Diddy Kong Racing players are probably watching this and cringing at the gameplay. Believe me, I am too. There is so much advanced knowledge that I just did not know at the time. That would have made this way easier, but through sheer determination and willpower, I managed to defeat him a second time. And for doing so, we get a piece of the Wizpig amulet, which we'll need all 4 of to challenge Wizpig and beat the game. We also unlock the Trophy Race Challenge, which is basically a Grand Prix, but I've had my fill of Dino Domain, so I decided I would come back to that later. For now, I headed to the next world, Snowflake Mountain, a winter wonderland themed world with 4 new tracks to race on. From the icy loop-de-loops of Walrus Cove to the fields of Snowball Valley. I'm not sure if the AI gets harder with each world, but I was struggling pretty hard here at first. Everfrost Peak was the easiest one because I'm pretty decent at the airplane races now that I know the tight turning trick, but the rest of the tracks are car races and I still have not gotten the hang of this thing. I'm at least able to stay on the track for the most part, but it still took me a few attempts to complete the first 4 races. Thankfully, this world's boss, Bluey, has us racing on the hovercraft instead of a car. And first off, this guy's a freaking cheater, man. He totally starts way before the guy says go, man. Come on, where are the referees? Aside from that, he's actually not that difficult, at least not compared to the last boss. I was able to overtake him without using any balloons and managed to defeat him on the very first try. But we won so much more than the silver coin challenge like in the last world. After the boss fight, we get a little cutscene where Taj gives us a tip, and he tells us to try taking our finger off the accelerator right before hitting a zipper. This tip is a game changer. It turns out there's actually different levels of boost that you can get off the zipper, and taking your finger off the accelerator just before hitting one gives you the biggest boost possible. You can actually see the color of the flame is now green instead of the normal purple. And this applies to the boost from the blue balloons as well. It's seriously insane how night and day this is. This is such a huge detail that will instantly make you 10 times better at the game for knowing. Going back through the levels for the silver coin challenges, I felt like I was playing an entirely different game. I was front running pretty much all the time now. But I couldn't enjoy this feeling for long as I was quickly humbled by the second boss encounter. This guy is much faster this time around, and looking back at it, I wasn't really doing myself any favors by using Pipsy. She's great in a car, but not so much on a hovercraft. Beating him took a lot of trial and error just like the first boss, planning out each balloon and memorizing the course. And I really should have stuck with that plan because I thought I was good here and didn't have to risk slowing down and attacking him, but he almost won right at the end. But with quick reflexes, I shot him down with a missile and slowed him down long enough to get the win, getting us our second piece of the amulet. All that was left now is to track down the world's key, which is hidden in Snowball Valley right to the left of the starting line. Grabbing the key gets us an achievement and opens up the battle minigame Icicle Pyramid, a battle royale where the goal is to be the last player standing. So after blasting each other with missiles, I took out all the opponents and got the second piece of the other amulet. During this world, I got the achievements for playing as Conker and Pipsy, and it was time to switch characters, and so I picked Crunch. And right at the start, we have a challenge race against Taj in the airplane, and oh my god, does Crunch suck! His handling is non-existent, even with the R button held down the entire time. I'm still bonking into every single wall. I thought maybe it was just his flying that was the issue, but no, I took him to the next world and he still sucks just as bad. So I actually decided to start a brand new file real quick, grab the 4 balloons in the hub world, that way I only have to win 1 race for his achievement. And when I was looking up stuff about this game online, I was happy to see that I am not alone here. Crunch has a reputation for being the worst character in the game, so I'm really glad I got the achievement this way rather than trying to force myself to win 5 races with him. With that out of the way, I switched back to my main file and headed back to the third world, Sherbet Island, a tropical paradise with tracks on the beach, in the ocean, and even inside caves with pirate ships. We got a few more races on the hovercraft here, and I feel like I was starting to get the hang of it. Like the plane, you can make tighter turns by pressing the R button, but instead of just holding it down, you can also do a little hop in the air, which lets you turn sharper. I also noticed that bumping into walls can actually bounce us forward a little bit, which can give us more speed. And I don't know if I'm just improving or what, but I also found this world's boss to be easier as well. Bubbler is fast, and he drops these spiky bombs to slow us down, and the track is also littered with logs as well. But the strategy here is to simply get in front of him as soon as possible. Once you're in the lead, his bombs are no longer a threat. He is fast though, so staying ahead of him can be tricky, but I managed to do it without much trouble. On my second run through the tracks for the silver coin challenges, I actually started to struggle a little bit again. These courses are much more complex than the previous world. Well, at least most of them anyway. Treasure Caves was actually probably the most simple track in the entire game, but the others had us making pretty significant detours for the coins. So I often found myself having to play catch up. I managed to complete the challenges, but it's clear that I still have more to learn before mastering this game. In the second encounter against Bubbler, instead of dropping bombs, he drops bubbles, which slow us down a lot more than the bombs. He also moves a lot faster as well, but my aim has gotten better with the missiles, so after a few more hits, I was able to slow him down enough to get ahead of him. And from there, just like the first round, it's smooth sailing since his bubbles are no longer a threat if they're behind you. After defeating him, we get our third piece of the Wizpig amulet, and then I headed back to Crescent Island to grab the key that's hidden inside this wall. I probably should have used a hovercraft instead of a car, but it still worked and we got an achievement for finding it. This world's battle minigame is another battle royale, this time in hovercrafts. The arena is different, but other than that, it's the same as the last world, so after blasting our fellow racers, we win the minigame and get the third piece of the TT amulet. The next world is Dragon Forest with medieval fantasy themed tracks, and these tracks get a lot more technical. A lot of the sections you have to make alternating tight turns or navigate through obstacles. And Smokey, this world's boss, is the first one that has us racing him in an airplane while he leaves behind fireballs to try to sabotage us. We defeat him the same way that we defeated Bubbler, just slow him down with missiles, then get ahead of him so his fireballs aren't a threat. At this point, we've used all the characters and gotten all their achievements, or at least all the characters we have access to at the moment. From what I can tell, each character has different weight, acceleration, handling, and speed stats. Diddy Kong, Conker, and Timber are all well-rounded characters with no big strengths or weaknesses. Banjo and Crunch are heavier characters which give them high top speeds but poor handling and acceleration. Then we have Pipsy and Tip Tup, who are light characters with great handling and acceleration, but at the cost of a lower top speed. I don't know out of these characters who the best one is, and I'm sure that'll depend on your skills and playstyle preferences, but for me, Pipsy was the one that I felt I was doing the best with, so I stuck with her for a little bit. The second run against Smokey has him dropping more fireballs, which make getting ahead of him pretty difficult. And even when I did get in front of him, some of his fireballs actually stay on the track this time, but Pipsy's maneuverability made it easy to avoid them. And after this second win, we get another achievement for collecting our final piece of the Wizpig amulet. The key for this world is hidden in a really clever spot too. We need to ring the bell up on this drawbridge in Boulder Canyon, which causes the bridge to rise. Then we have to boost up there to get to this balcony where we find the key. Then we gotta do it again because of skill issues. Getting this key gets us another achievement and access to this world's minigame where we have to collect bananas and deposit them into our chest. These minigames are a really fun idea, but compared to the races, the computers really stand no chance whatsoever, so there's really not much to them. Winning this minigame gets us an achievement for completing the TT amulet, and with both amulets we are now one step closer to our completion. And now it's time to finally face Wizpig, the boss I could never beat as a kid. 28 years later, it is time for our rematch, but is he really that difficult, or was I just bad at the game all those years ago? I'm actually feeling pretty confident. I know more about the game now, and the last few bosses haven't been too difficult, so this one really shouldn't be too bad. And there he goes. Yeah, no, Wizpig genuinely is just really difficult even now. He's faster than any other boss so far, and this time we have no red balloons to help slow him down. The only thing we do have are a series of zippers along the track, and we have to hit every single one with a full speed boost if we have any hope of winning. Even if I managed to get ahead of him, it was only seconds until he's back in the lead. And remember, this game doesn't use any kind of rubber banding mechanic, he is just legitimately faster than us. And the track isn't very long either, it's pretty much one big loop that takes about 30 seconds per lap, so there just isn't any room for error here. Honestly, I'm not surprised I could never beat this guy as a kid. The amount of patience it took, fail after fail after fail, with improvements so small that it felt like I was getting nowhere. But eventually I started doing better. I was getting ahead of him more often, if only for a few seconds, and I was getting some really close attempts. I knew I had this, so I locked in and eventually got the win. It took 28 years, but I finally defeated Wizpig. This was such a personal achievement for me. I was so happy to finally beat this guy. And at this point, I'm now going into the rest of the game blind. I've never seen anything past this fight before. I assumed back then that this was the end of the game, but we still have plenty of achievements left, so I had a feeling we have some more challenges ahead of us. And as our friends are celebrating in the final cutscene, Wizpig makes one more appearance to wreak some havoc before he takes off into space. To chase after him, we're going to have to complete the trophy races that we skipped in the first run. These are our Grand Prix style races where we race on each of the 4 tracks in a world with our score carrying over between races. And the AI is supposedly the hardest during these races, but I guess compared to Wizpig, it was just a walk in the park. We also don't have to win every race, not even for retro achievements. We just need enough points to come in first at the end of the 4 races. I'm honestly surprised there wasn't some kind of retro achievement for coming in first place in all of these, but I've had my fill of challenges, so I'm not complaining. We do at least get 4 achievements for completing all of them, and once we have all 4 of them, we can access the final secret world of the game. I also realized here that I actually missed one of the hub world balloons. I got it with Crunch earlier, but that was on a separate file, so I had to get it on this file, which gets us another achievement for it being our 39th one. We can also unlock a new character by finding this frog in the hub world that suspiciously looks like a chicken. If we run it over, it frees Drumstick and lets us pick him as a character. The lore here is that Drumstick was the best racer on the island, and he was the first to challenge Wizpig, but he lost and then got turned into a frog. But now he's free and we can play as him, so we hop into the lighthouse on the beach, which turns out to be a rocket ship, and head to the final world, Future Funland. Drumstick's another heavy character, so I'm not really a big fan of him, but we do need 5 balloons for his achievement, so I used him for the first few races. This world has a futuristic sci-fi theme and more complex tracks with lots of turns. But it was really cool to see these tracks for the very first time, and come to think of it, my friend Matt never had these tracks unlocked, so he was definitely lying when he said he beat Wizpig. This world is also a little bit different as there's no first boss encounter. Once we beat all 4 races, we immediately get the silver coin challenges. There's also no key or battle minigame either, so it actually ends up being a bit shorter than the other worlds. But in order to access the boss, we have to collect all 47 balloons and 4 pieces of the TT amulet. We already have the amulet, and when I was done with the last silver coin race, that got us our final balloon. So once again, we can now take on Wizpig for a second time to officially beat the game. This time, we're racing him on a plane through a much more complex course. I thought this was going to be very difficult, but honestly, the second race was really easy compared to the first one. We have balloons this time, but I really don't think we even needed them. The only balloon we do need is this yellow balloon because one of the rooms that we race through has a bunch of spaceships firing at each other, so we need the shield to not get caught in the crossfire. But aside from that, there really wasn't much to this race. Once I got ahead of Wizpig, I managed to stay there, even if I make a mistake or two. He's so much less punishing this time around. So after only a few attempts, I managed to not only get the win, but look at this lead I had on him. The dinosaur at the very beginning of the game was honestly a harder boss than this. We beat him so bad that his rocket malfunctions and sends him flying into another planet, defeating him once and for all. And with that, we have officially beat the game. The island is safe and everybody is once again celebrating. But our journey still isn't done because we have plenty more achievements to collect. But we're about to rapid fire off a huge chunk of these achievements because after completing the game, we unlock Adventure 2, which is pretty much the exact same thing we just did, but this time all the tracks are mirrored, and the silver coins are in different locations. And our next 20 achievements are for completing each of Adventure 2's silver coin challenges. So that basically does mean that we have to replay the entire game, going to each world, clearing the 4 races, beating the boss, and then beat the silver coin challenges, beat the boss again, get the keys, do the battle minigames, pretty much replay the entire game. The only difference, like I said, is the silver coins are in slightly different spots, which does make things a bit harder, but I'm now pretty good at the game, so I was able to handle them with very little difficulty. I even had to race Wizpig again and ended up beating him on like my second or third try. It was just so easy now. This was a good chance to stream this second run over on Twitch though, and it was so fun hanging out with you guys. And we even got some pretty close calls. We're gonna be cutting it really close. Oh my god! What? No way I got that. That's crazy. That's actually insane. It was a really fun stream, so thank you to everybody who hung out during it. And if you guys want to follow me on Twitch, I'm trying to do more streams like this. I don't have a regular streaming schedule yet like I do with my videos. I'll be honest, I kind of just prefer making videos over streaming, but I do want to start doing like one stream a week or so feel free to follow me if you want to catch those. After completing Adventure 2, that gets us 22 more achievements. 20 of them are for completing each silver coin challenge, and then one's for getting all the balloons a second time, and then one's for defeating Wizpig a second time. Our next 40 achievements are going to come from beating the TT times and the developer times for each track. TikTok, aka TT, can be found in each world, and talking to him lets you turn on the time trial mode. In time trials, there are no other racers, no balloon items, just you, the track, and the goal is to finish 3 laps in the fastest time possible. If we get a fast enough time, TT's ghost will appear on our next attempt, and if we beat his best time, we get the achievement for that level. If we manage to beat his time on every track in the game, that not only gets us a bunch of achievements, but we can play as TT in the game. And he is the fastest character in the game, so we're gonna need him in order to beat the developer times, which are an even harder time trial than these TT ones, which are already pretty difficult. In order to beat these times, it's not enough to simply be good at the game. You really have to have a mastery of it. So I had to do some research and get some pro gamer tips from high level players. And despite me completing both adventures, I realized I still had a lot to learn about this game. There is so much advanced techniques that I wasn't even aware of. For example, when driving a car, it's actually faster to tap the A button instead of holding it down. This is called A-tapping, and it works because when you first accelerate, you get a small speed boost. So by tapping the A button, you're getting that boost each time. In the hovercraft, you can also A-tap, but only when you're going at your top speed. There's also a technique called snaking where you hold the R button and then do a snaking maneuver, turning right and left repeatedly whenever you're going straight. The hovercraft gets another small speed boost when turning to compensate for its weird handling. So by doing this snaking maneuver, you're again repeating that boost multiple times and going faster. And then for the planes, I thought planes were my best vehicle because I rarely had difficulty on any of the plane courses, but I wasn't even scratching the surface here. By double tapping the R button and inputting a direction, you can do a barrel roll, and these barrel rolls give you a big boost in speed, so using them often will get you better times. But this is a huge learning curve because it's so easy to bonk into a wall or accidentally input the wrong direction. And you can't spam it either because the game actually buffers your inputs, so if you're spamming the R button, you're going to find yourself doing extra barrel rolls that you weren't intending to do. You have to be very mindful of your inputs. With all of this advanced tech knowledge, the TT time trials become much more manageable. I managed to beat them all for another 20 achievements. The developer times, however, pushed me to the absolute limit. These are so much harder than TT's time trials. You pretty much have to play perfectly. One mistake is often enough to kill the run. And while TT is the fastest character in the game, he's heavier than Pipsy, so learning how to control him was a whole other challenge. I did have a good chance to practice with him though, as I never did the Future Funland Trophy Race Challenge, which isn't needed to beat the game, but it is one of our achievements, so that gave me a chance to practice with TT before tackling those developer times. These developer times were really a very poetic ending for this challenge. They require us to take everything we learned up until this point and really put our skills to the test. It wasn't even enough to simply be fast, but strategy was also a really big part of it. The bananas, for example, are crucial here. I knew each banana gives a speed boost, but what I didn't know is each one was a 2.5% speed and acceleration boost. So sometimes it makes sense to take a longer first lap to collect more bananas. But not always, as sometimes the bananas are just too far out of the way. So there was a lot of experimentation trying to figure out the optimal routes. In some cases, I actually opted to switch back to Pipsy because I got really used to how her car handles, and while TT is faster, it kind of defeats the purpose if his heavier handling causes me to make more mistakes. In hindsight, I really should have just practiced a bit more and used TT for every race, but I'm not here to do things the most optimal way. I'm here to show you how I did things my way. It was a really rough challenge, and my thumbs were on fire because of all the button mashing I was doing to increase my speed. But I came this far. I was not about to give up now, not with only a few more achievements to go. So I locked in once again, pulled out the best gaming chair ever made, and after a few hours of struggling, I managed to complete every single developer time for another 20 achievements. That just leaves one final achievement remaining, and we simply have to collect 5 balloons as TT. So I loaded up a new game, grabbed all the hub world balloons, and did one final race on the track that started it all. Just a few days ago, I was fumbling around to even collect a single key because I just couldn't grasp the controls of this game. But now I'm out here lapping everybody with no effort. And after crossing the finish line one final time, we get the last achievement, and we have now officially mastered Diddy Kong Racing, making this my 8th mastery on retro achievements.
This is for you.
It's so clear that I've gotten way better at this game, and I know that I'm probably still just a novice compared to the top players in the game. I really love how much depth and skill there is to these older games. It makes it so much more fun to learn. And I always loved this game as a kid, but now I have a newfound respect for it. I felt the same way in my video where I got all the achievements in Crazy Taxi. There's just so much to learn about older games like this, and it's so satisfying learning it all and then putting it into practice to get these achievements. If you're looking for a good challenge on retro achievements, I think Diddy Kong Racing is a very tough but fair set, and if you're willing to learn some speedrunning tricks like I did, I think it's a pretty satisfying game to master. Retro achievements aside, I'm really glad I had a chance to play this game once again and complete it for the very first time after all these years. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. Because there were so many achievements that were so similar, I kind of changed the pacing of the video. Rather than covering each one individually, I lumped a few of the bulk ones together. This is only my 9th video on the channel, so any feedback is appreciated. I'm doing my best to try to learn and make better videos. But that's gonna do it for this week's video, gamers. Once again, I really hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a like and a comment. That really helps out the channel, and it's why we're growing so quickly. If you don't know what to comment, tell me what your childhood game is that you can never beat. I'm also currently working on The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and that's gonna be my biggest video yet, so I'm really excited to share that one with you guys, but it might take a little more time because of just how big that game is. So I'll still be uploading other games in the meantime. As always, if you guys ever want to see what games I'm currently working on, feel free to follow me over on Retro Achievements. Thank you all so much once again for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next week with another video.